Hola, good day and hello and welcome to this video. And today I got yet another interesting and original video idea. We're gonna be ranking the best roller coasters in different categories. And if you saw the thumbnail for the video, it could be everything from best launch, best drop, smoothest coaster and so on. And I've created a total of 10 different roller coaster categories. So now let's get into this video. Now the first category we're going to address is the best pacing. Which roller coaster has the best pacing overall? And the winner right here for me is Sadra at Energylandia. Sadra overall is a ground up built RMC roller coaster, and this amazing coaster opened back in 2019, and Sadra still stands as one of the tallest RMC coasters out there. And Sadra just showcases relentless pacing through the whole ride layout. After an amazing vertical first drop, this roller coaster just flies into a turnaround section and quickly into one of the best 0G stalls in the world. And even though this coaster on paper has a pretty lengthy roller coaster layout, it just seems quite short, and that's just because the train just flies through all these elements. Sadra just flies through a quick wave turn over the station and into a high-paced camera back hill. The slowest paced element on Sadra is actually a step-up underflip inversion under the turnaround structure, but Sadra picks its speed up yet again, goes through relentless amounts of airtime hills and inversion, and then it hits the brakes very hard. And these brakes are just so gut-punching because you can feel Sadra has a lot of speed left. Now coming in as the next category, we got the best launch. And well, there are overall many great picks for the best launch coaster, but many of these are also standing but not operating. And the winner in this category for me is Formula Rosa. And this Intamin-made roller coaster still stands as the world's fastest roller coaster in the world. And lucky for us, this roller coaster has just opened yet again. The so-called Formula Rosa has been standing but not operating for a very long time. But this coaster of course features their iconic hydraulic launch system. And this hydraulic launch system is still the best in the world because it has a very quick acceleration and a very high maximum speed. But on the other side, these hydraulic launches are just a maintenance nightmare, so I get why this roller coaster has been standing but not operating for almost a year or more. But other than this awesome roller coaster launch, Formula Rosa doesn't really do anything because it is just very long and drawn out turns with a high speed. And then in the end you have a few airtime hills, but they don't really do much. Now the next category is the worst steel roller coaster. And there are overall really some horrible steel roller coasters out there. We have the old Aerodynamics and Vekoma coasters. And the winner for me is Flight Deck, created by Vekoma. And this roller coaster is part of the infamous SLC coaster model. And just imagine there are over 40 of these horrible SLCs out there in the world. And man, I get why they have bought them, because they look cool and they're probably quite cheap. But unfortunately most of these SLCs are just quite rough, but some of them are just worse. Flight Deck must be one of the worst profile SLCs out there. The horrible transitions and shaky train on this coaster just makes the ride experience unbearable. And yes, unfortunately Flight Deck still has the original Vekoma train. And these original Vekoma trains just have these big and bulky over the shoulder restraints. And that means while riding this shaky roller coaster, your head just bangs to the right and to the left and into the restraint. Flight Deck is what we call a headbanger of a roller coaster, because there's overall a 90% chance for you getting a headache on this one. And now coming in as the next category, we got the smoothest steel roller coaster. And funny enough, we just went from one of the roughest steel roller coasters to one of the smoothest right here. And the winner for me is ironically Phoenix, made by Vekoma. And this so-called Vekoma Wildcat coaster model is part of the next generation Vekoma movement. And these next generation Vekomas are just so smooth and have also started to become popular over in the US now. And Phoenix at Forup Sommerland in Denmark is by far the smoothest roller coaster I've ever tried. And I'm telling you, this roller coaster experience is so smooth that I can't even just feel a little bit of rattle or shake when I ride this. And Phoenix overall just features a great roller coaster layout with great inversions and great airtime moments. And surprisingly, it is actually the inversions that are the star elements on this ride. And yes, you have many floater moments and some great airtime pops, but the stalled hang time fill loop, the whippy hardline roll, and this corkscrew going through the station is just amazing. And I can't really believe that Vekoma can make this roller coaster layout that smooth, because it has many small elements. And yes, this roller coaster does have vest restraints, but they don't really do anything with the ride experience. These vest restraints don't really sit that tight, and disclaimer, they are not like the new gen B&M vest restraints, those are just too tight. Now moving on to the next category, we got the best drop overall. And many of you people might think I would take some of the B&M Giga coasters, but the winner for me is actually Hyperia, made by Mack Rides. And Hyperia was actually one of the best new for 2024 roller coasters in the world. And Hyperia overall just features one bizarre hyper roller coaster layout. It almost looks like something I made in Roller Coaster Tycoon. And even though this coaster experience is quite short, it still has some of the best elements in the whole world. This ride has one of the best hang time fill inversions in the world, and on top of that, this weird looking turnaround section is just the best element I've ever experienced. And on top of that, Hyperia personally for me has the best drop in the whole world. Now get ready for this. Hyperia has a 180-degree twisted first drop that is over 230 feet long, and not to mention the crest at the top is very sharp. And this amazing first drop creates awesome airtime, especially in the back row, and on top of that you got crazy lateral G-forces. And just look how sharp that 180-degree twist is. By far the best drop in the world, especially in the back row. It feels like a car crash right there. Now the next category we have is actually the best themed coaster, and this is where we need to go over to the Disneyland or Universal parks. And the winner for me is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure made by Intamin. And I really had a strong battle between Cosmic Rewind and this one. And now let me tell you why I picked this one. And it is very important to mention that Hagrid's is primarily an outdoor coaster, and Hagrid's just has the overall superior queue line for me going through this mystery castle and seeing his house and so on. And during the whole ride layout you just have so many immersive dark ride scenes and track elements. You have a total of 7 different launches, including a backwards launch, on top of that a drop track and a stall. And on top of the very lengthy and special coaster layout you just have many small dark ride scenes with very expensive electronics. And on top of that, this coaster also features an indoor section inside this cave with a drop track and then an awesome final launch with this boost looking effect to the side. And that's why Hagrid's is overall the most themed coaster for me personally. Now coming in as the next category, we got the Smoothest wooden coaster. And I would have actually picked one of the refurbished Intamin prefabs, but I've actually heard some of these have steel track now. So that's why the winner for me is actually Wood & Timber coaster made by GCI. And Wood & Timber coaster at Europa Park was actually my first GCI roller coaster, and it remains as the smoothest for me. In terms of ride experience, this roller coaster is of course awesome. Floater airtime hills low to the ground and very smooth. And in terms of comfort when riding Wood & Timber coaster, you can only feel a little tiny vibration. But then in the back row you can feel it a bit more, but it isn't really anything. So I would recommend taking the front row on Wooden because it feels like you're flying in the skies. And now the next category is the most intense coaster. And this is where you could have picked something like Ejinaika, X2 or even Montu. But the winner for me is the fan favorite so-called Pantherian made by Intamin. Formerly known as Intimidator 305, this roller coaster is just the king of intensity. Pantherian starts out with an awesome giga coaster first drop, and then it just flies low to the ground into this bank turn. And this infamous low to the ground turn is just known for making people grey out. And after a very drawn out airtime hill, this roller coaster just mainly stays low to the ground where it just flies through these whippy turns. These low to the grounds are filled with strong positive G-forces, and on top of that you have the transitions that are just very whippy and aggressive. This coaster just overall offers non-stop intensity until you hit the trims on these airtime hills. Now coming in as the next category, we got the smallest roller coaster in the world. And even though this small coaster stopped operating in 2023, I had to show you people it. I could have actually picked the operating one in Energylandia, but the smallest one of them all is the so-called Den Allerminste made by SBF Visa. And this 25 meter long / 82 feet long coaster operated at 1000 in Norway. And its so-called name translated to English is just the smallest one. I actually thought this category would be a funny pick for the list, and just look at these roller coaster trains, they are so cute. Now the next category is the best terrain coaster. And remember, this is not the best roller coaster out in the terrain, because then I would have actually picked Voyage at Holiday World. And I could have also picked the Beast, but my winner is actually Boulder Dash made by CCI. I just think Boulder Dash overall is the best utilized terrain coaster in the world. And throughout the whole roller coaster layout you just fly low to the ground into these woods and out again. And this ride experience is just awesome and immersive because it feels like you just fly through the forest. And when Boulder Dash finally flies out of this forest hillside, it just goes into many airtime hills. Overall just an awesome wooden coaster. And let me know in the comments if Boulder Dash is your favorite terrain coaster. And now we finally reached the end of this video. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comments. And if you really love these kind of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. That would be awesome. And at the end of the day, I'm always gonna say bye bye.